Chris Mackowski for the American Battlefield Trust. I'm here with Sarah K. Bierle, and we're doing some Civil War cooking. And by we, I mean she, because this is her jam. And Sarah, as I see jam, I see some in this container.
Yes.
It looks like we're going to do some cake and fruit. And what do we have going on?
Yes, so we're going to assemble a cake, but we're going to talk about historic cakes here for a few minutes. So during the Civil War era, and when we're looking at 19th century cookbooks, we do find a lot of cake recipes. And, you know, Robert E. Lee will make comments about certain cakes. There's cakes that play into the elections during the Civil War years. There's the Lincoln election cake. Very fascinating layers of history, pun intended. As we create a layer cake. So I had previously baked our cake layers. We're going to have 2-layer cake here. So this is a sponge cake. And one of the great things with a sponge cake for a modern audience is there's no dairy in it, or at least in the recipe that I used from a 19th century cookbook. So if you have friends that don't choose to eat dairy or can't, this is a great option if you're having them over and want to serve some dessert.
Now, you mentioned a Civil War era cookbook for this recipe. So these are things that people can find at home if they want to do something just like this.
Yes. Now, if you're looking at those old-fashioned recipes, sometimes it can be difficult to figure out the exact measurements. So what I like to do is I read the original recipe, and if something's not quite making sense, I'll take a look at some modern cake recipes and see if that helps me determine, that sounds like about the right amount of flour or those sorts of things.
Now, I'm not going to pretend to be an expert at all. I know this is all chemistry. But I think a key important thing to remember is that if you try a recipe like that and you're not sure if it's for you, try again.
Yes.
Because as with any good science, and chemistry included, it's a lot of experimentation so that you adapt it to your own tastes. So what's this going to taste like for us?
Absolutely. So this cake, compared to modern cakes, may taste a bit historic. It's probably going to be a little bit denser than our boxed cakes or the cakes we might buy from the store. But I think we're going to find it's a little bit like an angel food cake. So this recipe used 9 eggs, separated them out, beat the egg whites till they were light and fluffy. Yes, in the Civil War era, that was typically done with a fork and a platter. I have beat them that way. This time around, since we were making the cake off camera, I went ahead and used some electric help. But then the egg yolks and the sugar you beat together, and then you add a little bit of flour. There is spices, a little bit of nutmeg, a little bit of cinnamon in these cakes. But sometimes you'll also find interesting things like lemon zest or rose water, or sometimes even a little bit of liqueur, like a brandy or something like that. So different flavorings in the cakes.
And those are nice subtle flavorings too. A little bit of lemon zest goes a long way. A rose water, that can be really overpowering if you use too much of it. So again, something that you can use that's nice subtle to add to this. And pardon my pun, sounds like something you could just whisk up.
Yes, absolutely. So let's go ahead and put this cake together. We'll see how it goes, what it tastes like. Civil War soldiers will sometimes write about wanting cakes or things like that in some of the boxes that they would receive from home. They sometimes mention receiving cake. Probably wouldn't be a nice light cake like this, probably more like a fruit cake. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, I can imagine putting a nice light fluffy cake in the postal service back then. You're asking for trouble. Fruit cakes, I guess that's why we still do them today, is that they preserve pretty well and transport pretty well. And even as you're constructing this, and I see that you're putting together layers, I could see something like that really going askew in the mail.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
What have you put on here?
So this is a blackberry jam, so just giving it a little bit of filling.
I told you it was her jam.
And then we're going to add our second layer here. We're not going to do a frosting. For a long time, I thought that they didn't do frosting on cakes, but then as I actually read cookbooks, going to those kind of primary sources of the culture, there are frosting recipes. So we could frost the cake, but they would also sometimes just decorate it very simply. So we're going to just dust some sugar on the top.
Okay.
If you want to.
Oh, let me try it.
Yeah.
So, like snowfall.
Yes, and we're going to make a mess on the counter, but that's okay.
That's really why I'm here, is to clean up all this mess afterwards. So, now, do you want a lot, a little?
Let's do a little more.
Okay.
Yeah. And in a cookbook from Kentucky, I think it was 1830s, they talk about making fruit sauce or serving berries, fruit with these type of cakes. So I thought we could probably put some blackberries here on top.
All right.
And then they would also, sometimes they would decorate with, they call them sugar flowers, so they could get at the confectioners. So it might be like we would have like a royal icing flower. Sometimes they would use real flowers as well. So I thought we'd add a few.
So you're actually doing it artfully and making it pretty, as opposed to me, I'd be like, blah, blah, blah. But speaking of making it pretty, that's actually why this vase of flowers is here, because again, as they're trying to use the things that are around and available to them, they've got decorations.
Right, exactly. So these roses, they look kind of like the old-fashioned style to me. Technically, we should wrap them in floral tape if we were going to stick them into the cake. So I'm just going to lay them on top, and I think the camera will get the idea. But doesn't that look like something that you would take to an afternoon tea, or perhaps, you know, ladies back at home getting together in their sewing circles or things like that? You know, this would be something that perhaps that they would enjoy.
And I can imagine if I was an officer in one of the armies and one of the ladies of the neighborhood invited me and the staff over to entertain us, and I came in after some hard campaigning, this would be delightful to find on the table.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
So how do we eat it?
Well,
Because of course that's the most important part.
right. Well, let's go ahead and cut into it. So we'll carefully remove our pretty roses.
For decoration only, not for consumption?
Well, you might be able to eat them, but I don't know how food safe those roses are. So, and I'm using a serrated knife because this is more of like an angel food consistency, so a straight cut down knife might not go so well. So we'll just carefully cut in and hopefully it comes out great.
Wow. And with the fruit on the top, the powdered sugar, we've got the 2 layers of cake itself plus the jam in between. It really truly is a layer cake that's going to have lots going on as we work our way down through it.
Yes. So here you go.
All right, so this cake extravaganza,
A sponge cake with light spices.
light spices. It does have that heavier consistency you told me about, but really that powdered sugar is enough to kind of carry the sweetness through and bring out the flavor of the jam in between. And it's really tasty.
Thank you. I will say this is one of the better historic cake recipes I've tried. So, and this is the first time I made this particular one.
Wow.
So I think I'll be keeping this one.
So really my title on the video should be Chris Mackowski Guinea Pig. Is that it?
Could be.
Like they say, life is short, eat dessert first. Sarah has baked a wonderful cake. You can find Civil War recipes yourself. Try them out, experiment, find a taste that works for you, and do some own Civil War cooking of your own.
Absolutely. Enjoy some pies and cakes and things, as one Civil War soldier wrote to his mother.
So I'm Chris Mackowski. This is Sarah K. Bierle for the American Battlefield Trust. Thanks for being with us. Bon appetit, and thank you for all you do to support battlefield preservation and education.
Hello, this is Trace Atkins. To stay up to date on all the latest and coolest videos, please subscribe to the Trust's YouTube channel. Preserve, educate, inspire.